Darrin, has Evan exceeded expectations at all? I mean, obviously you drafted him for a reason, and you think highly of him, but has he even exceeded your expectations with what he's done?
No, I think he's done very well. I don't know about like, exceeded my expectations. I have very high expectations for him, and I think he has extremely high expectations for himself. But I think he's been exactly what we've thought whenever we took him. The one thing that stands out, obviously, last week was my first game to be around him in game-like situations, and that's a big test or a big thing for me. And I thought he did fantastic in the game. He's very loose, but yet he's very focused, if that makes sense. Meaning he doesn't put a ton of pressure on himself. I think he knows what the expectations are, and he knows what the pressure already is. Yet for a kid who's really, honestly, quite young, to be able to thrive in those situations is pretty remarkable. And that's what I felt that day in Gainesville when he was there. He really stepped up and competed, and I think he's done nothing but show that in his time with us here.
Sammy, what's going to be the approach you think to maybe potentially having a COVID kicker this year or having a guy in emergency situations? That's something that there is a benefit this year like there was last year.
Yeah, I think there's some benefit to that, Ben. I don't know that it's quite as high as what it was a year ago, just with the way the protocols are, and with most players now in that situation being vaccinated, I think we can get them in the building quicker and get them on our roster sooner than we could a year ago. That was really the reason we had to take Austin or claim Austin a year ago is because of the injury to Randy after that first game. Really, we had no choice. If had we not claimed anybody and Randy wasn't able to play in that Thursday night game, we'd had nobody because of that 5-day window that the testing period they had to come in. I think if those guys are vaccinated now, as I understand, that they can, you can virtually get them on the field right away as long as they have a couple negative tests. So I don't know that it's quite as big a deal as it once was or as it was a year ago. Certainly it would be if something happened at the end of the week. You'd be in a bit of a pickle. So there's some value to it for sure, but I don't know that it's quite is what we're making it out to be. Hold on one second. My TV is shut off.
Darrin, I'm just curious what you've thought of your coverage, both punt and kickoff, in the first two games, because the numbers would indicate they've been pretty good. Tampa Bay, I think the average was 22-yard line. They're on 22. Washington was, I think they're on 39, but a couple of turnovers kind of affected that. It seemed like your coverage in both games, punt and kick, has been good.
Yeah, it's been solid. I didn't like the one play we had against Washington, a kickoff return play that they had that kind of came up our sideline a bit. We had a couple guys several guys that didn't get off a block like they should have, didn't maintain leverage like they should. But, I think that's the point in preseason games. I hate seeing kickers in the course of a game, in the normal course of a game, bang it in the end zone for touchbacks, on kickoff plays. That really proves nothing, other than the fact that they want to try to keep their team healthy, I guess. But I think you lose an evaluation play both for the return team and the cover team. So, we've purposely kicked the ball short. I say short, but not hit touchbacks on most plays. We did hit one on purpose last week. We hit one at the very end of the game against Tampa on purpose. Otherwise, I think you get great evaluation tools. And, I try to make things as hard as I possibly can on our players in preseason games to see guys that can get off blocks and then ultimately get to the ball. So when they make plays in preseason games, it's a big deal. And like I said, I didn't like the one play that we had against Washington in the second half there, that we let it get out to the 30-something, and I hate that. But all in all, for the most part, I think it's been solid. I think we've done fine covering punts. I'm going to change up the group quite a bit this week. To get a better look at some of these guys who are coming off injury, and some of these guys still got need to have opportunity to show. So that'll change up some this week.
Coach, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me, but I think the first time Mike Thomas played gunner for you, I think, was when you played Miami. Maybe I'm wrong there, but
looking back, he could have. We knew Mike could play gunner the whole time. He played his whole career with the Rams. We played against them. We played LA over there in London. He was a starting gunner for the Rams then, and so he's been a starting player in that role. So we've known he could do it the whole time. But again, without looking back at the stats, that sounds about right. That probably was one of the first plays he covered for us.
Yeah. Can you say how he's progressed, and maybe just talk about the Gunners as a group and what you're looking to maybe find on Sunday? Who are you looking at on Sunday?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to give you everybody I'm looking at on Sunday. You got to wait till Sunday to figure that out. But no, I think Mike's done well. We tried to get Mike into the game, quite honestly, a couple more times in the preseason. You know, it's a nightmare for me on the sidelines in a preseason game. You know, because I've got to try to stay abreast of what's going on offensively, defensively, who's playing, who's out. You know, and try to match that up with what I'm doing. You know, there's a couple of times that Mike Thomas was slated to take a gunner rep during the game last week against Washington, but he's out there as a receiver. And so I don't think that's fair to him to have him run a go ball on third down as a receiver. Then he's got to turn right back around and come back and cover down as a gunner on punt. So there were several times that his number was up, but then he was out there on offense and did get a chance to rep. So hopefully we can get him. We're going to get him in the game pretty early this week to get a look at him. I've been very pleased with our gunners thus far. You know, Brandon's done a solid job. Stanley, as we know, always does a solid job too. Stanley Morgan. We had several guys force fair catches last week versus single. You know, not when they were doubled, when they were singled up, which is also important. I think forcing a fair catch or forcing return or signal fair catch because the gunner's down in his face, to me, is a lot like a tackle. And it's virtually the same as a tackle to me. So we had several guys that showed up and did that. You know, Jalen Davis was one of those guys. I think, you know, Winston Rose got a chance a little bit maybe the first week, and Winston's made a couple tackles on kickoff. So we've had a variety of guys that have shown up, you know, there. Tony Brown is somebody who, you know, played a lot for us last year too. So, you know, I feel good about where we're at Gunner right now.
Overall, special teams wise, overall, you know, your core players, your overall team speed on special teams, as you look to piece together what you're going to have for the opener, how do you feel about it?
I feel okay. You know, there's a couple hot spots that we still got to get sorted out. These, you know, and again, like I said, it's a nightmare for me to have to schedule these guys who are going to play. It's also, you know, very intriguing to me because you're giving guys opportunities to do things maybe they haven't done before or that they haven't done a long time. So there's a lot, I think, riding on me, the fact that I got to get these guys ready to play, not in a preseason game, but in a regular season game. You know, these preseason games are, you know, from a preparation standpoint are fairly vanilla and fairly easy, but that doesn't even hold a boat, as you know, to what we're going to see week one. And so I try to think ahead and try to get us prepared to play Minnesota, even though we're playing Miami. You know, there's a lot of things that Minnesota, you know, or Cleveland or Chicago or Pittsburgh could throw at us, you know, early in the season, and I'm trying to get those guys ready for now. So, you know, there's a lot still to be decided, I think, from this game. There's going to be several spots. You know, and they're going to be, like I said, the lineup's going to change a bit this week in a lot of areas. Some guys are playing. You know, I think Zach's already come out and said that some other guys are not playing. And so whoever's in the game, you know, again, those are like, I always tell these guys that every play that they get, whether it's in practice or a game, is like a gold bar, man. And they want to be as rich as they can when the dust settles. So you want to have as many of those gold bars. You've got as many opportunities as you can to show what you can do. And because that's your resume, that's your calling card, not only for this team, but for the other 31 teams too.
Have you liked what you've seen from Darius Phillips as a punt returner?
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
Have you liked what you've seen from Darius Phillips as a punt returner?
Yeah, you know, Darius hasn't gotten great opportunity to really return it. He did in the first game against Tampa. They punted away from our direction call. I think that Colt maybe had called there. So, you know, Darius kind of had to board it and get what he could. We all know that the big question with Darius is, can he catch the ball? Can he handle the ball? I think he's done that pretty damn good so far. I feel better about him right now than I have really probably at any point that he's been here, you know, about put himself in position to handle the ball and doing a good job of it. You know, we rushed Washington one time last week. I think it was on the second punt of the game. He came up, made a nice catch on a short punt. So I've been happy with what he's done so far.
Darrin,
Go ahead, Paul.
Darrin, can you kind of talk about some of the tight ends that are in the back of that room and how they've played for you, with Moss, Wilcox, Schreck, and how they've looked for you?
I think it's interesting. That's going to be one of those hot spot positions, as you can imagine. You know, that's going to be kind of up for air. It's up for deciding. You know, hopefully that'll sort itself out a bit in this last game. I think they've all done a nice job so far. There's no secret. We lost a good player in Ethan Carter, you know, a year ago. But he's on somebody else's roster now. So we got the guys that we have, and I like the guys that we have. I'm very happy with those guys. Mason is somebody, as we know, who's been around here for a bit. I think there's a great comfort in Mason knowing exactly what to do, and there's certainly comfort in having that. The other two guys, Mitch Wilcox, you know, was on our practice squad all last year. Mitch did great things in practice. There's hardly anybody that works harder than Mitch, and I think, but Mitch is growing with his understanding of what it takes to be an NFL player, not as an NFL tight end, but for him as a backup tight end, it's being an NFL player, and part of that entails playing the kicking game, just like it is for Thaddeus. You know, I don't think Thaddeus probably covered many kickoffs or many punts at LSU, and but he's been very open to learning all that it takes to play those spots. I think he understands. You know, that's he's going to have to separate himself from the rest of the herd there in order to earn a spot on our team. It's not going to be what he does at tight end. It's going to be how he can cover, how he can block. So again, there's some interesting spots here. Obviously, Mitch didn't play last week because of injury. So, you know, hopefully he'll be back and ready to go this week, and again, it'll sort itself out. But, you know, there's probably a couple, 3 guys, like you say, vying for a spot or two, you know, depending on how we decide to go with it, whether we decide to go with 4, decide to go with 3.
Darrin, back to Darius for a second. What has he done to improve himself as just a more consistent catcher of the ball? Is it just simply working on the jugs gun and catching more balls and just getting more comfortable doing that?
Yeah, well, I think as you can imagine, Richard, it's different when you feel like that. I think it was when Alex was here, he probably didn't feel like he had a great chance sometimes, you know. And I think it kind of got, I shouldn't say that, it kind of got derailed a little bit last year. I had full intention of pushing him to try to put him in that role, you know, and then Trey Waynes got hurt right away. And so then Darius went to become a big, you know, the starting corner on defense. So I can't put a starting corner out there. So that kind of got sidetracked and derailed. So I think his focus, his attention kind of goes elsewhere, you know, and then everybody just kind of assumes Alex is going to be the guy, and away we go. And so I don't think that it got his complete focus. I think Darius probably understands with, you know, with the signing and bringing some of those other guys on, and Mike Hilton and bringing on Eli Apples, that Darius like, oh man, he starts to, you know, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4. I better, you know, really lock in here, and this could be my role, because everybody sees a void there in that returner role. So I think he's taking it more, I don't know if you want to call it more serious, but with more professionalism, and knowing that this may be the deal that you know, keeps him here.
You may have the same problem if Waynes can't go. I mean, what do you do if Waynes can't go? I mean, and he's got to play.
Well, I think that'll be probably discussion for next week. But I think it's probably early to talk about whether Trey can or can't go, or whether I can play or can't play, or, you know, whether whoever it may be. So I think that's probably still a little premature. I'm not thinking that far ahead. I'm worried about what we do today at practice. I'm trying to make it through this game, Jeff.
Yeah.
Have you like
Coach, I'm trying to make it through the next 3 minutes. Sorry about that.
Are you saying this how long it's going to take? It's 3 more minutes? That's it?
No.
All right.
You like Trenton Irwin as a punt returner as well?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Trent got a chance. You know, we got him in the game. I wish we could have forced him to punt another time or two. You know, we had him up the whole second half, ready to go there last week, and he just really got one opportunity, and it was kind of a short punt. But yeah, Trenton is somebody who I have a great deal of confidence in handling the ball. You know, the question is going to be serious. What he can do, what can he do when he does have the ball? Is he a game breaker, or is he a safe catch guy? Can he, you know, make some plays when he's got his hands on the ball, or we just going to exchange possession? So, you know, hopefully we'll get a chance to get a look at him this weekend too.
You expect to use Drew Sunday afternoon?
I think it's going to be a medical thing, Jay, whether our doctors will allow that to happen. It's going to be up to them. It's not up to me. I think it's going to be whether they feel comfortable enough to put him out there, you know, with his hand the way it is, or, you know, with the injury that he does have. So that's more of a medical thing, I think, than a competitive deal at this point for me.
One more question.
I was gonna say, do you expect to rotate the kickers, or has Evan done enough to kind of earn that starter's day off?
You know, for a guy who's, I don't even know if he's 21 years old yet, he hasn't really earned the opportunity to do much anything yet, but he's earned the opportunity to get to lace his shoes up and put his jersey on and tighten his chin strap up again. That's about all he's earned in my eye. So no, we'll go through the same rotation to answer your question. I don't mean to answer in a smart aleck way, but yeah, he will. We'll go through the same rotation. We'll rotate those guys through and both give them opportunities to show. I mean, we have a unique situation. I think both guys deserve. Really, we have 2 5th-round picks on our team at kicker, and both of them deserve to be kicking the league. You guys will find out which one that is for us. Whenever that is, Tuesday, right, Jeff?
I guess what you're saying is that I should buy a ticket.
Well, you can buy whatever you need to buy, I guess.
And watch the game Sunday, right?
Sure, yeah. if you get to buy a ticket, they're charging you admission now?
I was sorry, bad joke. I lost that bet that you could count down from 5. I lost that bet, Coach.
Well,
just.
Darrin, when it comes to Evan and Austin, is there anything else that you're hoping to see out of either of them on Sunday?
Just maintain the level of consistency. They both. When you watch these guys both kick in pregame warm-up, it was pretty special. I mean, we kicked 28. Both guys kicked 14 field goals apiece last week in pregame warm-up. They finished 27 of 28. One guy missed 1 kick, and so to watch these guys go through their pregame warm-up has been spectacular. I mean, it's obvious when you watch that both guys deserve to play. So I think the one thing that they've done, none of them skipped a beat. They both kicked extremely well. So I think just maintaining that level of consistency. Some things it's a little different, I guess, what we try to think about. We're going out to kick a field goal. I want to see that these guys are able to control their breathing, control their heart rate. They don't get too high. They don't get too low. I'm just not checking to see whether the kick is good or not good. It's seeing how they react to even a miss in pregame warm-up. But hell, when you miss 1 kick, you only get 1 shot to see that. And so I think just maintaining where they're at is what I'm looking for, and not having blow-up things happen.